It had been a tough day at school for Jake, and he couldn't wait for the bell to ring to signal the end of the day. He watched the clock on the wall. It seemed like an eternity before the hands reached 3 o'clock. The alarm sounded. He picked up his bag and ran down the corridor and out of the school gates. All he wanted to do was to get home and play his favorite game, Among Us. He hoped that his parents weren't home yet because they didn't like him spending too much time in front of his computer, so they would probably make him wait until after dinner to play. He'd just stepped through the front door to his house when he heard his mom call out, "Jake, is that you?" Jake sighed and went through to the kitchen where his mom was preparing dinner. "Come and help with these vegetables," she said. "Oh, Mom, I want to play on my computer." "You know the rules. Wait until after dinner." Jake knew there was no point in arguing with his mom. She would never change her mind. As soon as dinner was finished, Jake ran up to his room and switched on his computer. He waited impatiently for the screen to light up. He opened up the app and joined a new lobby. There were only 4 players so far, so Jake sat back and waited for others to join. "Come on, hurry up." Another player joined. His name was Phthonus. As they waited for other players to join, Phthonus started talking in the chat function. He was ranting on and on about the president of Greece. Jake rolled his eyes. "Don't know why this dude is so riled up about the president," Jake thought. Eventually, they had 10 players and the game began. Jake saw that he was a crewmate. Now he had to work out who the imposter was. He looked to see what tasks he had to perform. What? Only 2 tasks? This is gonna be easy. Jake pulled the trash chute lever and watched as the trash went down. Now I've just got the wires to connect. He took the red wire and put it into the red socket. Then he did the same with the blue. As he did, he noticed on the left of the screen that 1 player had left the game. That's weird. I wonder why he's gone. Jake carried on, but then another 2 players left the game. He wondered what was going on, but then other players left until there was only Jake and Phthonus left. The game automatically finished then, and Phthonus had won. He was the imposter. Jake was disappointed with the game and he didn't want to play anymore. He went to switch off the computer, but it wouldn't switch off. Jake wondered what was going on and was starting to feel a bit scared. He decided he would go downstairs and spend the rest of the evening with his parents. But when he walked into the lounge, he suddenly started freaking out. "Who are you? You're not my mom and dad. You're someone else pretending to be them." "Jake, what's wrong with you? Of course we're your parents." No, you're not. Tell me where they are. What have you done with them?" Jake started frantically pacing around the room, holding his hands over his ears. He didn't know what was going on, but he knew one thing for sure. These people had done something with his parents and were probably going to hurt him too. "If you don't tell me where my parents are, I'm calling the police." "I think we'd better call the doctor. I think you must be overtired. That's why you're acting so paranoid." Jake's mom called the hospital and told them how Jake was acting. When she put the phone down, she turned to Jake. "They're going to send a doctor out to see you." All Jake wanted to do was get out of the house, but his parents persuaded him to stay and at least let the doctor examine him. About 10 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. "That must be the doctor," said Jake's mom. But when she opened the door, Jake saw 2 men in suits standing there. "We need you to come with us," they said. "Welcome back to SCP Exposed. Today we bring you the Keter class subject, SCP-5167. Before I go on, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any more SCP stories. SCP-5167 is an entity known to manifest as a player of the online multiplayer game Among Us, under the username Phthonus. It will randomly join multiplayer lobbies of the game and participate as an ordinary player would, with the majority of its anomalous effects only becoming obvious following the initial encounter. During this initial encounter, it has been observed to communicate using the in-game chat function. Among the majority of its speech consists of lengthy diatribes produced at little prompting from other players. Individuals who interact with SCP-5167 in-game will subsequently begin to exhibit symptoms of paranoia and Capgras delusion. This is a psychiatric disorder in which an individual comes to believe that those around them have been replaced with identical imposters. The severity of these symptoms varies from person to person, but in initial cases was significant enough to prompt acts of perceived self-defense from those affected. These symptoms persist for a period initially believed to encompass several months, but has lessened to 1 or 2 weeks as observation has continued. SCP-5167 was initially discovered by the Foundation after a period during which the player Phthonus was a minor urban legend in the Among Us community. Although interest in the figure died down fairly quickly, Foundation web crawlers flagged recorded accounts of players' encounters with the entity as potential anomalous phenomena. Learning computer PSI-2, known as Meville, was assigned to track sessions of the game until SCP-5167 was encountered. When the other players in said session were tracked down, they exhibited the symptoms now associated with SCP-5167. Foundation efforts to track the individual behind SCP-5167 have thus far proven unsuccessful. All attempts to locate the internet access point used by the anomaly have led to deserted home addresses in rural Greece. Foundation web crawlers are to monitor online communities for mentions of potential SCP-5167 sightings. In cases where these sightings are confirmed, all direct witnesses are to be apprehended and all secondary evidence removed from the platform in question. Apprehended witnesses are to be held until symptoms of SCP-5167 abate, and are then to be amnestized and released under a standard mental breakdown cover story. Michael Ross, the intelligence director of Site-22, gave the following report on SCP-5167. As requested by head researcher Abrams, I've had the Site-22 analyst look into the progress of SCP-5167's anomalous effects over the period we've observed it, and the results are much as I expected. When we first discovered it, for the sake of argument, let's say this is when SCP-5167 first came into existence, the impact it had on its victims was severe. I don't think I have to remind you of what Billy Heth did to his family's faces. But since then, almost immediately really, since that first couple of manifestations, the potency of its effects has started to decline. Full detachment from reality became delusion, and delusion has now become paranoia. Also, the intensity of that paranoia is lessening in each case. This is all conjecture, of course, and shouldn't be taken as gospel. But based on what we've observed of this anomaly thus far, our estimation is that SCP-5167's anomalous effects will become inert by the end of the year. Whether it'll keep popping up in these video game matches is another story. The following is a log of SCP-5167 as observed by learning computer PSI-2 in a game of Among Us. SCP-5167 participated in the game without communicating until specifically addressed by other players. Red, where were you when the reactor was called? John Arbuckle said. Where was I? I was there when the mountains were newborn and the oceans virginal. I was there when gods walked among men, and their wisdom was cast down like sunlight. I was there when mankind was capable of legends, said SCP-5167. And now? I find myself in a world that has forgotten even the taste of life, even the very concept of life beyond existing from one day to the next. Mere continuance, where all the world is wasted away in idle play of emotions that once rang true. I am in a world where even the gods are forgotten, their bones washed away by time. A world where man has moved on, where all the legacy I have left are 3 sentences on Wikipedia. I thought my time had come again. I thought this could be the new me. But this is nothing. Let me stay dead this time. I'm tired. There was a long silence, and then another player spoke. Red is sus, said your mom. Yeah, vote red, said XG1200. Following the game, all participating players were tracked down and treated as containment procedures dictate. What did you think about that SCP case? Please leave your comments below.